Hey guys, welcome back to another video with Frank and Blaze. I hope you guys had a fantastic day. Now let's get right into the video. So guys, you see the title. Yes, I do not believe in lending grown-ass men money. I just don't believe in that. I wasn't brought up that way to ask a grown-ass man, can I borrow money? So guys, today at work, an employee today pulled me to the side, wanted to talk to me privately. A man, a grown man. Well, he's in his 20s, but he's still a grown man. And he pulled me into the office, wanted to come to my office, private conversation, to ask me if he could borrow $100. And I told him, I said, you know what? I just can't do it. There's two reasons I gave him that I'm going to share with you guys of why I would not let this employee borrow $100 from me. And there's a third reason. I just don't believe I should be lending. One of the main reasons, though, is I just don't think I should be lending money to my employees. I just don't think I should be doing that, because people could look at that as favoritism. That could get around. More employees would think that I can lend them money, and I just don't want to start that. I just don't want to do that. I don't want to start that habit. I just don't want to do that. I just don't want to lend my employees money. I just don't think it's good business. I want to keep everything professional. But there's two other reasons. One of the other reasons is he took on a second part-time job so he wouldn't be in this predicament. So somewhere he's blowing money. He has roommates, so he only has rent to pay, a car payment, and then he has told me one credit card bill with like a $500 balance. So he's blowing money. He shouldn't be needing to borrow $100, right? Guys, we just got paid Saturday. Today is Tuesday. We just got paid Saturday. Today is Tuesday, and he's needing $100. Nope, I can't do it. I told him, you are mismanaging your money. I would help you write a budget. I would help you write everything down, go through a budget. I would help you set a budget. But you're mismanaging money some type of way. And you know how I know he's mismanaging money, guys? It's because on an 8-hour shift, he's buying snacks at work, drinking 2 and 3 energy drinks. He's probably blowing $20 a day at work. At least $20 a day at work. He's at least blowing $20 a day at work alone. So I know he's mismanaging his money. You know, you can't be working full-time for me. And he's a full-time employee, not a part-timer, a full-time employee. So, and then you're working a part-time job, 20 to 25 hours a week at another location, and you have to borrow money from me, trying to borrow money from me 3 days after we just got paid? Something is not right. Something is not right. But, like I said, I offered to set up a budget, help him make a budget. He said, you know, he'll think about it, blah, blah, blah. He just wanted to see if I would let him borrow the money. So he's not serious about getting his money under control. Second, I just don't believe in lending grown men money. I just wasn't raised that way. And I learned this from my grandfather. My grandfather that was born in the 1920s. My grandfather said, as a man needs to stand on his own 2 feet and figure this shit out. You don't go to your parents. Your parents should be the last resort. Borrowing from your dad should be the last resort. Borrowing from another man, a close friend, should be the last resort. Grown men don't go around borrowing money from grown men. Because a man needs to figure out where he's coming up short at, figure it out, and get that money. How do you guys feel about that? I've always lived by this motto, and I'm not going to change that. I'm not going to change that. You guys, I got a 34-year-old son. 34 years old. My son does not ask me for money. Does not ask me for money. I don't know. I can't even remember the last time he's needed my help with money. But I should be the last resort. If he comes into a bind, he's a grown man with a family, a wife, 2 children. If he comes into a bind, he has to figure that out. I should be the last resort. I shouldn't be the first resort. He should be trying to figure it out before he comes to his father. That's the way I was growing up. Well, personally, my father didn't have any money, so I couldn't go to my father anyway to get money, to borrow money. If I needed money, I had to go to if I really got into a bind growing up, I had to go to my grandfather to help me out because I couldn't even go to my dad. When I was growing up, if I hit a snag or financial emergency and I just couldn't figure it out, I had to go to my grandfather because my father had no money. So again, how do you guys feel about that? You know, that's just the way I was raised. I can't let a grown man borrow money. You know, it's like I was having a conversation with a cousin of mine a couple of weeks ago. She's a female. And she called complaining and was just complaining about her boyfriend that she's been living with for 2 years now, how he, you know, he works, but he's horrible with money. You know, he'll have his half of the bills, you know, or he'll pay the bills he's supposed to pay, but then he'll have to borrow money from her because he won't have any money left after he pays his half of the bills. And I'm like, he'll have to borrow $50, $100 or whatever, here and there. And I'm like, this dude is in his 40s. He's a grown damn man. And he's borrowing money from his girlfriend? I'm sorry, guys. To me, that's not a man. That's not a man. Men don't operate like that. This dude is in his 40s. And has to borrow money from my cousin when he's broke. And I'm like, you let him borrow the money? She's like, yeah, I feel bad. That's not a man. A man doesn't borrow money. A man doesn't borrow money from his girlfriend. A man doesn't borrow money from another man. Like I said, you guys may have a different opinion, but to me, a grown man figures it out. A grown man doesn't borrow money from another man. Just don't happen. Like my daughter. My daughter, she has a fiance, but I'm her father. Until she gets married and I walk her down that aisle and hand her to her husband, she doesn't ask him for money. If my daughter needs money, she comes to me, her father. I'm her father. So if she needs something desperately, she's coming to her father. She's not going to her fiance. Look how Blaze is looking at me like, give me another treat while you're running your mouth. You know, my daughter's not going to her fiance if she needs money. She's coming to her dad, because that's my daughter. And then when she gets married, she will cleave to her husband, and then that's his responsibility after that. But yeah, I just don't believe in giving a grown man money. A grown man needs to figure it out before he goes to another grown man to borrow money. You guys may have a different opinion. I would love to hear it. So guys, you guys have a great evening. Thanks for supporting the channel. Frank and Blaze, we out of here.